Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Penguin Random House Morning Book Buzz. We're so thrilled to be back here with you for another morning to talk about some of our favorite books. We have a great lineup today. I'm Jen Childs with Penguin Random House Library Marketing, and I'll be co-presenting with two of my colleagues. I will let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Kelly Coyle-Crivelli. Thanks for joining us. Happy September. Hopefully everybody went back to school well that needed to.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kate McManus.
Great. Well, we're here to talk books. For those of you who have attended before, this will be nothing new, but just a quick reminder that we will send out a wrap up that includes all the slides, so you don't have to worry about writing everything down. We'll include all the links, but if you want to, feel free. We also have a key that will let you know what formats the titles we're talking about are available in. Many of our books are available also in audio editions, large print. We have Spanish editions today. So just look at the key at the bottom to see all of the wonderful availability we have. Also, if you are so inclined, please feel free to tweet using our hashtag PRH Morning Book Buzz.
We hope you will join us again for another fun-filled day of Library Journal's Day of Dialogue. It is a free virtual event on October 20th. We have lots of authors and panels and materials for you, downloadables. It's just really a fun day to celebrate what's coming out from Penguin Random House and other publishers in the near future. Some of the top authors we have are on the screen here. We have Tracy Kidder, Rebecca Mackay. It's going to be really fun, and you can chat with us too. Hope to see you there.
Fun. Okay, I know this is on your radar for sure, but a new Banned Books Week is approaching September 18th. You know, obviously this is a kind of an evergreen event, but I think it's never been more important than it is right now. Penguin Random House is hugely supportive of the freedom to read. We have a lot of activities planned for September and beyond. This is kind of a lifelong focus for us. Some things that you can look forward to are we have a resource hub that we have worked on with some really critical players in the freedom to read world. Dr. Lucy Santos Green has helped us quite a bit put together a really amazing banned books resource hub. You can visit it using the tiny URL below. We also have amazing resources at the Penguin Random House Resource Hub. We have webinars, we have links, we have areas to report challenge books. So please do check it out. Please share. There are all sorts of shareable videos, things to help you really kind of keep this in the front of minds of your community, that there really needs to be an active participation in protecting the right to read. Also, we've shared this before, but we worked with School Library Journal to produce a beautiful Open Books, Open Doors poster featuring artwork by Rafael Lopez. We have free copies. We're happy to send them out to you. You can just go to the tinyurl.com/SLJ poster to request, and we'll send those out as soon as possible. Really gorgeous artwork.
So many of you might have joined us for our recent library con that we just had a couple weeks ago, where I was lucky enough to interview Ralph Macchio. No offense, Jen and Kate, but you're no Ralph Macchio. But it was really fun. It was a great day. We had fabulous panels. So if you missed it, of course, we have the archive available on our YouTube channel. And also, if you wanted us to send you our downloadable program, we can do that as well if you email us at library@penguinrandomhouse.com. And also we'll put it in the wrap-up report for this event. So it's a great It's a great event to relive. There's different panels and book buzzes on our YouTube channel, like I said, and the tiny URL on the bottom will bring you to all of these great resources.
And then we have another great webinar offering that we're partnering with Booklist on for Banned Books Week. This is going to be a really special webinar featuring some amazing authors, Nicole Hannah-Jones, Kyle Lukoff, Renee Watson, Kim Johnson. We're also having Dr. Emily Knox moderate the panel. It promises to be a really extraordinary hour. I hope you can join us. Um, if you register, you can either attend live, and if you do attend live, 10 lucky people will win a amazing package of banned books, or if the timing doesn't work for you, you'll get a link to the archive version. So I hope you'll consider registering. I hope you'll join us live, and if not, we'll see you in the archive version.
Okay, and we just recently put out our fall 2022 debut sampler. Here you can read some samples of your favorite upcoming books by first-time authors, such as Laura Worrell, Bobby Finger, and Fatima Ashgar. There are titles like This Old House, Soft, Sweet, Plenty Rhythm included in here. You can find our debut sampler on our issue page, along with a ton of other resources, such as all of our book club kits and various other samplers that we've put out.
All right, and now on to the books.
And just a reminder, I'll just pop in to remind everybody. So we are putting all these links in the chat, but don't worry, we put them all in the wrap-up report, so you don't have to be copying and pasting them. You'll get them all later. Sorry, Jen.
That's all right, no worries. Okay, so speaking of debuts, the first I'll start with this heartrending lyrical debut, When We Were Sisters. The author traces the intense bond of three orphan siblings who, after their parents die, are left to raise one another. The youngest grapples with the incomprehensible loss of their parents, as she also charts out her own understanding of gender. The middle sister spars with her crybaby younger sibling as she desperately tries to hold on to her sense of family in an impossible situation. And the eldest does her best in the role of sister mother while also trying to create a life for herself on her own terms. When We Are Sisters tenderly examines the bonds and fractures of sisterhood, names the perils of being three Muslim American girls alone in the world, and ultimately illustrates how those who've lost everything might still make homes in one another. And if you want to dip in, When We Were Sisters is included in the debut excerpt sampler.
So up next, I have Trespasses by Louise Kennedy. Set in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, Trespasses follows a young woman named Kushla who has to choose between her allegiance to her community during wartime and a dangerous passion. Kushla leads a relatively quiet life with her mother in a town outside Belfast. By day, she teaches at a parochial Catholic school. At night, she will sometimes fill in at her family's pub. At the pub, she meets Michael Agnew, a lawyer or a barrister, if we're going with the language, who made a name for himself defending IRA members. Against her better judgment, Kushla ends up getting involved with Michael, who is not only older, married, but also Protestant. When a father of one of her students is beaten, a chain reaction that will threaten everything is set in motion, and everyone falls into danger, including those who Kushla most wants to protect. Kirkus raised that Kennedy illuminates the unescapable harm that occurs in darkness. And this is bound to be an incredible atmospheric read, and it is perfect for those who are interested in more recent historical fiction.
Up for me, this book is going to be so fun. Twice in a Lifetime. It's going to be a really fun debut in December from Alcove Press. The time traveler's wife meets Una out of order in this imaginative and moving debut novel about a love more powerful than time. Isla has fled the city for a small town in Missouri in the wake of a painful and exhausting year. With her chronic anxiety at a fever pitch, the last thing she expects is to meet a genuine romantic prospect. And she doesn't. But she does get a text from a man who seems to think he's her husband. Obviously, she suspects he has the wrong number, But then he points out that he sends her a picture of them on their wedding day, and it's really her. So she's caught up in this texting relationship with her, who may be a hoax, maybe her husband, Ewan, and he claims to be reaching out from a few years in the future. Ewan knows Isla incredibly well and seems to love her exactly as she is, which she can hardly fathom. But he's also grieving because in the future they are no longer together. Melissa Barron's time-crossed romance features a quintessentially endearing and brave protagonist and an engrossing plot that will keep you turning pages until its breathtaking finish. I love time travel books. I can't wait. Next up is The House of Pines. This is a debut thriller about the subtlety of memory and manipulation, in which a young woman must find her way back to a New England cabin, armed only with hazy, haunting memories and a half-written book by the father in Guatemala she never knew. But this book might help her uncover the truth, and maybe it will save her. Maya was a high school senior when her best friend Aubrey mysteriously dropped dead in front of the enigmatic man named Frank, whom they'd been hanging around with all summer. 7 years later, Maya still lives in Boston with a loving boyfriend, but she's still hiding from the memories and the pain of the past with her friend dying. So her past comes rushing back to her when she comes across a recent YouTube video in which a young woman, suddenly keels over and dies in a diner while sitting across from none other than Frank. Plunged back into the trauma that has defined her life, Maya heads to the Berkshires' post-industrial hometown to relive that fateful summer, the influence Frank once had on her, and the obsessive jealousy that nearly destroyed her friendship with Aubrey. And before too long, all roads are leading back to Frank's cabin. This utterly unique and captivating book will keep you guessing about whether we can ever fully confront the past and return home. Perfect for book clubs.
Okay, in Bad Cree, this is a gripping, horror-laced debut. A young Cree's woman's dreams lead her on a perilous journey of self-discovery that ultimately force her to confront the toll of a legacy of violence on her family, her community, and the land they call home. When Mackenzie wakes up with a severed crow's head in her hands, she panics. Only moments earlier, she'd been fending off masses of birds in a snow-covered forest. In bed, when she blinks, the head disappears. Night after night, Mackenzie's dreams return her to a memory from before her sister Sabrina's untimely death. A weekend at the family's lakefront campsite, long obscured by a fog of guilt. But when the waking world starts closing in, too, a murder of crows stalks her every move around the city. She wakes up from a dream of drowning, throwing up water, and gets threatening text messages from someone claiming to be Sabrina. That's when Mackenzie knows this is more than she can handle alone. So, traveling north to her rural hometown of Alberta, she finds her family still steeped in the same grief that she ran away to Vancouver to escape. They welcome her back, but their shaky reunion only seems to intensify her dreams and make them more dangerous. What really happened that night at the lake? And what did it have to do with Sabrina's death? Only a bad Cree would put their family at risk. But what if whatever has been calling Mackenzie home was already inside? This is
I would have turned my sound off if I knew this was in
a well, that brings me to my next point. This Bad Cree is actually included in our debut sampler, but if you, unlike Kelly, can't get enough of horror, we also have an amazing horror sampler with more scary reads for the fall. So check that out too. But Bad Cree is actually in our debut sampler.
Oh man, I'm gonna get nightmares just from that description.
I
Sorry.
cannot handle birds anyway, so thanks a lot.
No, no, absolutely not. Well, on a much lighter note, next we have Bandit Queens by Parini Shah, which is bound to be absolutely hilarious. So 5 years ago, our main character Geeta lost her no-good husband, as in actually physically lost him. He walked out and she has absolutely no idea where he went. However, in her remote village in India, the rumor mill has started that Geeta has killed him, and she simply cannot escape this lie. This rumor becomes so widespread that women in the community begin coming to Geeta for her help disposing of their husbands, to put it nicely. The Bandit Queens is bound to be an absolutely hilarious read filled with clever criminals, second chances, and witty women. It's so funny and full of heart. And Taya Orbit, New York Times bestselling author of The Tiger's Wife, has said Shroff captures the complexity of female friendship with acuity, wit, and a certain kind of magic irreverence. The Bandit Queens is tender, unpredictable, and brimming with laugh out loud moments. So totally different from Bad Cree, but more my speed in my opinion.
Maybe something's wrong with me that somebody murdering all the husbands doesn't scare me, but the birds do. All right, now on to some cookbooks. I mean, these are going to make everybody hungry. I think it's the right time to be hungry in the day, though. Five Mary's Family Style. This is a follow-up of her popular cookbook, Five Mary's Ranch Raised. And Mary Heffernan reveals family life on the ranch through the traditions, crafts, and meals they share together throughout the year. It's arranged around 17 themed menus for family favorite events and activities. Five Mary's Family Style takes a reader on a journey through the seasons and customs that drive life on the ranch. Along the way, Mary shares stories of life as well as the faithful traditions and strong connections she maintains with her extended family. It's beautiful with lush photography, and it also is a lot of stories about their cats, their dogs, their horses, and of course with her about her beloved husband and ranch co-partner, Brian. Tegan Gerard of Half Baked Harvest says, I want to make everything from this cookbook. I don't think there's a better compliment when it comes to a cookbook.
So up next, I don't think I've ever really met somebody who doesn't love the Great British Bake Off, but even people who aren't necessarily fans of very civil, very British competitive cooking shows will love Nadia's Everyday Baking. Nadia Hussein was the winner of the sixth season of the Great British Bake Off, which I believe aired in 2015. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. And she's also the author of Nadia Bakes and Time to Eat. So she's back with another book with over 90 recipes to suit every situation. Everyday baking is organized by the kind of day each recipe is suited for. So on the list are days like happy days, rainbow days, and chill out days, with perfectly tailored recipes to suit each of those moods. This is an absolutely beautiful collection of recipes with stunning photography paired with Nadia's warm, inspirational voice that any fans of the Great British Bake Off will find familiar. Nadia's Everyday Baking is absolutely sure to become a favorite for both seasoned chefs and kitchen newbies alike.
Next up is Apricot Lane Farms Cookbook. This is exciting. This is the seasonally inspired food recipe book from the chef, farmer, and star of The Biggest Little Farm. More than 10 years ago, Chef Molly Chester and her filmmaker husband left their urban LA life to purchase a neglected piece of land in the northwest of the city in hopes of creating a more purposeful and delicious life. Today, they steward 234 thriving acres of gardens, animal pastures, habitat corridors, and orchards, including their abundant fruit basket, which is a lush tapestry of landscape that provides 75 different varieties of fruit trees. Chester and her husband's gentle, slow, and unconventional approach has inspired other farmers and was the subject of the 2019 award-winning documentary, The Biggest Little Farm. And this is the debut cookbook that comes out of that documentary. And it brings the bounty of the farm to readers in the kitchen. And I think it's going to be perfect for obviously fans of the show. And then each section is divided by season and insider tips for sourcing the best produce. This is a must-have cookbook for home cooks looking for inspiration from their farmers market hauls and anyone looking to create a closer connection to their food.
Okay, next up we have another Great British Bake Off alum. Ruby Tando is a finalist. And here we have a cookbook for the real world. It's beautifully illustrated inclusive, and inspiring collection of more than 100 delectable and doable recipes for home cooks of all kinds that shows that you don't have to be an aspiring chef to make great food or for cooking to be a delight. You just have to cook as you are. From last minute inspiration for feeding an entire family, which I can absolutely relate to. Like, I feel like every day Kelly and I are like 5 o'clock, like, what are we doing? What are we making? Um, to satisfying meals for just one person, easy one pot dinners to no chop recipes. In these pages, Ruby Tando shares a feast of homey, globally inspired dishes. And now, just to be mean, I'm going to read some of the recipes that are included. I know you're all hungry already. Um, there's carrot, lemon, and tahini soup, smoky chicken, okra, and chorizo casserole, gnocchi with harissa butter and broccoli, lightning quick asparagus and chili linguine, tofu and greens with hot and sour chili sauce, and rosemary baby buns. Yum. I'm ready for
Yum.
lunch.
Me too. We'll probably have
I'm
peanut
so
butter and jelly though.
ready. All right, well, next we have What's for Dessert by Claire Saffitz. And Claire opens us with just a quote, a question that reads, whether you're into flambés, soufflés, or simple loaf cakes, this book offers over 100 different answers to that all-important question, what's for dessert? This is the follow-up to Claire Saffitz's first cookbook, Dessert Person. Many of you may know her as her previous work as a contributing editor to Bon Appetit magazine, or from her current internet presence. She has over 1 million subscribers on YouTube and posts videos of her making different recipes. She actually recently has started posting recipes from this book. So if you want a sneak peek of what's inside, you can go to her YouTube channel and bake along with her. These recipes in What's for Dessert are designed to be as streamlined as possible and to be made with and by simple ingredients that the everyday baker has already in their kitchen. These are sure to be just like incredible, incredible, delicious recipes. I think everybody can already tell by that cover, that picture on the cover. I want to eat whatever that batter is. I have no idea what it is, but it looks delicious. And Claire is a leading voice basically in the dessert world right now. So I'm really looking forward to this one that comes out November 8th.
And last but not least, the long-awaited new book from the best-selling and beloved author, Deb Perelman, author of the Smitten Kitchen Cookbook and Smitten Kitchen Every Day. A collection of essential recipes for meals you'll want to prepare again and again, from cozy chicken and dumplings to fettuccine with white ragu, and from chocolate peanut butter cup cookies to strawberry summer stack cake. Yum! If you haven't checked out the Smitten Kitchen blog, Deb Perelman is amazing. I almost never see a recipe that is not appealing to me. She really kind of nails the most like what you want to eat. Like it's a great mix of like kind of comfort food. It's not too complicated. Um, I have a whole bunch of favorite recipes. And here in her third book, appropriately titled Smitten Kitchen Keepers, New Classics for Your Forever Files, Perelman gives us 100 recipes, including a few favorites from her site that aim to make shopping easier, preparation more practical and enjoyable, and food more reliably delicious for the home cook. Definitely recipes that you'll want to make again and again. Okay, and then moving to big nonfiction. We have a ton of nonfiction this fall. It was hard to choose, but we did our best. And I'll start with The Forerunner by Cori Bush. Having worked as a nurse, a pastor, and community organizer in St. Louis, Missouri, Cori Bush hadn't initially intended to run for political office. But when protests in Ferguson erupted in 2014, Bush found herself on the front lines, providing medical care and protesting violence against Black lives. Encouraged by community leaders to run for office and compelled by an urgency to prevent her children and others from becoming social media hashtags, Bush campaigned persistently while navigating myriad personal challenges, and ultimately rose to unseat a 20-year incumbent to become the first Black woman to represent her state in Congress. The Forerunner is the raw and moving account of a politician and activist whose life experiences, though underrepresented in the halls of Congress, reflect some of the same realities and struggles that many Americans face in their everyday lives. At once stirring and emotionally wrought personal account and a fierce call to action, this political memoir is the likes of which we've never seen before.
All right, and up next we have The Book of Boundaries by Melissa Urban. Gretchen Rubin, New York Times bestselling author of The Happiness Project, says Melissa Urban shows the way forward with clarity, vulnerability, and humor. Excuse me. Melissa Urban's a co-founder of Whole30, a diet movement that many of you may have heard of. And in this book, she provides strategies to end resentment, burnout, and anxiety, and at the same time, reclaim your time, energy, health, and relationships. Urban presents her advice in a very user-friendly and totally approachable way, and gives readers the tools they really need to lead happier, healthier relationships. This book alone offers over 130 scripts with language that you can use to establish boundaries with everybody ranging from bosses and coworkers to in-laws and co-parents and even strangers. It also provides actionable advice to help you communicate your needs clearly and compassionately, tips for successfully navigating any guilt you may feel with setting boundaries, and techniques to create healthier habits surrounding food, drinking, technology, work, etc. We also, excitingly, have 10 physical copies of the Book of Boundaries available for request right now. I believe we have a form that will be sent out either in the chat or in the wrap-up. Just know that this is first come, first serve and limited to US librarians, but if you're interested, please fill out that form. We'd be happy to share some boundary setting advice with you, or Melissa Urban would be happy to. And then
Yeah, we just put it in the chat.
Great. And then next up, we have Visual Thinking by Temple Grandin. I'm sure many of us know who Temple Grandin is. She is an outspoken animal rights activist, as well as a pioneer for the autism community. In this book, Visual Thinking, she dissects how different ways of thinking benefit society and how we can all learn to better foster those who may see the world a bit differently than us. Grandin proposes new approaches to educating, parenting, employing, and collaborating with visual thinkers like herself. She also poses that more of us may be visual thinkers than we realize. She sets the example of if you have a great sense of direction, you love puzzles, or you have the innate ability to assemble furniture without crying, you yourself might also be a visual thinker, just like her. This book comes almost 25 years after Grandin's massive memoir, Thinking in Pictures, a book which forever changed how the world understands autism. And in this book, Temple Grandin, who's been dubbed the anthropologist on Mars by Oliver Sacks, transforms our awareness on the different ways our brains are wired. This is a landmark book that reveals, celebrates, and advocates for special minds and the contributions of visual thinkers. And Franz de Waal calls it an absolute eye-opener. Steve Silberman says a powerful and provocative testament to the diverse coalition of minds we'll need to face the mounting challenges of the 21st century. So this is also one I'm really looking forward to. Temple Grandin actually spoke, I believe, the year before I graduated college as the commencement speaker. So I got the ability to see her speak there, which was really cool. So yeah, really looking forward to this one.
Oh, that's fun. Next up from me is Homebound by Homebound, An Uprooted Daughter's Reflections on Belonging. It's a book by Vanessa A.B. This is a singular, intimate memoir of identity and discovery as Vanessa A.B. explores the way we define home and belonging. From her birth in Cameroon to her adoption by her aunt and her aunt's white French husband, to experiencing housing insecurity in Europe and eventually an immigration to the United States. It's an adoptive, multiracial, multilingual multinational, and transcontinental upbringing, and it's caused her to grapple for years with the foundational question of what is home? Is it the country we're born in, the body we possess, the name we were given that identifies us? Is it the house we remember most fondly, the status assigned to us, or the ideology we forge? What defines us and makes us uniquely who we are? It's organized unconventionally around her own dictionary style definitions of the word home, and Vanessa tackles these timeless questions thematically and unpacks the many layers that contribute to and condition our understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. In the Publisher's Weekly starred review, it says, what emerges as a rich and enthralling story of finding oneself outside of the bounds of borders and beliefs. This offers radiant hope in the face of darkness. It also has starred reviews from Library Journal.
Next up is The Extraordinary Life of an Ordinary Man. It's a raw, candid, unvarnished memoir of an American icon. Paul Newman, arguably one of the greatest movie stars of the past 75 years, covers everything. His traumatic childhood, his career, his drinking, his thoughts on Marlon Brando, James Dean, Elizabeth Taylor, John Huston, his greatest roles, acting, his intimate life with Joanne Woodward, his innermost fears and passions and joys, with thoughts and comments throughout from Joanne Woodward, George Roy Hill, Tom Cruise, and Elia Kazan, and many others. In 1986, Paul Newman and his closest friend, screenwriter Stuart Stern, began an extraordinary project. Stuart was to compile an oral history, to have Newman's family and friends and those who worked closely with him talk about the actor's life, and then Newman would work with Stuart and give his side of the story. The only stipulation was that anyone who spoke on the record had to be completely honest, and that same stipulation applied to Newman himself. The project lasted 5 years. The result is this extraordinary memoir culled from thousands of pages of transcripts, revelatory and introspective, personal and analytical, loving and tender in some places, but always complex and profound. This is definitely one to be excited about.
Yes, I can't wait to read that. I'm a little bit in love with him. Next up from us, this is very exciting. It's a new book from Tracy Kidder, the Pulitzer Prize winning New York Times bestselling author of Mountains Beyond Mountains. And his new book is Rough Sleepers. Tracy Kidder has been described by the Baltimore Sun as a master of the nonfiction narrative. In Rough Sleepers, Kidder shows how one person can make a difference as he tells the story of Dr. Jim O'Connell, a gifted man who invented ways to create a community for a city's unhoused population, including those who sleep on the streets, and they are referred to as the rough sleepers. When Jim O'Connell graduated from Harvard Medical School and was nearing the end of his residency at Massachusetts General Hospital, the chief of medicine made a proposal. Would he defer a prestigious fellowship and spend a year helping to create an organization to bring health care to the homeless citizens of the city? Jim took the job because he felt he couldn't refuse it. But that year turned into his life's calling. Tracy Kidder then spent 5 years following Dr. O'Connell and his colleagues as they served their thousands of homeless patients. Much as he did with Paul Farmer in Mountains Beyond Mountains, Kidder explores how a small but dedicated group of people have changed countless lives by facing one of American society's difficult problems instead of looking away. This is going to be a powerful new book, and we're excited about it.
Okay, next up, Hispanic and Latinx Heritage Month begins September 15th and runs through October 15th. And we've pulled together some recently published and forthcoming books to share. First up, in his unflinching and inspiring memoir, I'm Not Broken, Jesse Leon tells an extraordinary story of resilience and survival, shining a light on a childhood spent devastated by sex trafficking, street life, and substance abuse. Born to indigenous working class Mexican immigrants in San Diego in the 70s, Jesse Leone's childhood was violently ruptured. A dangerous and harrowing encounter at a local gift shop when he was 11 left Jesse with a deadly secret. Hurt, alone, and scared for his life, Jesse numbed his pain by losing himself in the hyper-masculine culture of the streets and wherever else he could find it, in alcohol, drugs, and prostitution. Overlooked by state-sanctioned institutions and systems intended to help victims of abuse, neglected, like many other low-income Latinos, Jesse spiraled into cycles of suicide and substance abuse. I'm Not Broken is the heartbreaking and remarkable story of the journey Jesse takes to win back his life, leading him to the steps of Harvard University. From being the lone young person of color in Narcotics Anonymous meetings, to coming to terms with his own sexual identity, to becoming an engaged mentor for incarcerated youth, Jesse finds the will to live with the love and support of his family, friends, and mentors. And we do, if you frequent our YouTube page, we do have um, a wonderful panel discussion that Jesse appeared on at one of our festivals. He really is a remarkable, remarkable person, and his story is definitely worth reading. Okay, next up is Solido, which was just recently named a Read with Jenna pick. A trip. My parents started using that word about a year ago. One day you'll take a trip to be with us, like an adventure. Javier Zamora's adventure is a 3,000-mile journey from his small town in El Salvador through Guatemala and Mexico and across the U.S. border. He will leave behind his beloved aunt and grandparents to reunite with a mother who left 4 years ago and a father he barely remembers. Traveling alone amid a group of strangers and a coyote hired to lead them to safety, Javier expects his trip to last 2 short weeks. At 9 years old, all he can imagine is rushing into his parents' arms, snuggling in bed between them, and living under the same roof again. He cannot foresee the perilous boat trips, relentless desert treks, pointed guns, arrests, and deceptions that await him. Nor can he know that these 2 weeks will expand into 2 life-altering months, alongside fellow migrants who will come to encircle him like an unexpected family. A memoir as gripping as it is moving, Solito provides an immediate and intimate account not only of a treacherous and near impossible journey, but also of the miraculous kindness and love delivered at the most unexpected moments. Solito is Javier Zamora's story, but it is also the story of millions of others who had no choice but to leave home. And also, this will be published simultaneously in Spanish. It's been 28 years since Sandra Cisneros, author of the best-selling The House on Mango Street, published a book of poetry. Here, with dozens of never-before-seen poems, Woman Without Shame is a moving collection of songs, elegies, and declarations that chronicle her pilgrimage toward rebirth and the recognition of her prerogative as a woman artist. These bluntly honest and often humorous meditations on memory, desire, and the essential nature of love blaze a path towards self-awareness. For Cisneros, Woman Without Shame is the culmination of her search for home, in the Mexico of her ancestors and in her own heart. There will also be a simultaneous Spanish language version published by Vintage Espanol.
I think Sandra Cisneros was the first author I ever worked with at Random House, and it was
She's
amazing
wonderful,
experience.
amazing.
Yeah, this is exciting. Um, Up from me, we have 3 books more to talk about for Hispanic and Latinx Heritage Month. This is a translation of the New York Times bestseller and Reese's Book Club pick, LA Weather. It was also the winner for the Rodolfo Anya Best Latino Focused Fiction Book Award in 2022. Um, and this is LA Weather. It's a fun book with quick wit and humor. Maria Amparo Escandon follows the Alvarado family as they wrestle with the impending evacuation, secrets, deception, and betrayal, and their toughest decision yet, whether to stick together or burn it all down. Um, It's LA, it's is parched, it's dry as a bone, and all Oscar, the weather-obsessed patriarch of the Alvarado family, desperately wants is a little rain. He's harboring a costly secret that distracts him from everything else. His wife Keela, desperate for a life with a little more intimacy and a little less Weather Channel, feels she has no choice but to end their marriage. Their three daughters, Claudia, Olivia, and Patricia, are blindsided, of course, and left questioning everything they know. Each will have to take a critical look at their own relationships and make some tough decisions along the way. This was a very popular book last year, and now it is available in Spanish, in the Spanish edition. Calypso, Corpses, and Cooking. What more could you want? This is a perfect, cozy mystery for your fans of Mia Manansala. Fall festivities are underway in Coral Shores, Miami. Cuban American cooking show star Miriam Quinones Smith wakes up to find a corpse in her front yard. The body by the fake tombstone is the woman that was kicked out of the school's fall festivals the day before. And Miriam's luck does not improve. Her passive aggressive mother in law puts her in charge of the Women's Club annual gala, but this year it's not canapes and waltzes. Miriam and her girlfriend squad opt for fun and flavor. They want to spice it up with Caribbean food trucks and a calypso band. While making plans at the country club, they hear a volatile argument between the new head chef and the club's manager. Not long after, the chef swan dives to his death at the bottom of the grand staircase. Was it an accident, or was it Beverly, the sous chef, who was furious after being passed over for the job? Or maybe it was his ex-girlfriend, Anastasia. It's a fun book for foodies and mystery lovers alike, and they will savor the denouement as the truth is laid bare in this simmering stew of rage, retribution, and murder. We love cozies, and this one is going to be very fun. We also have some recipe cards for this. We'll put the downloadable edition of it in the wrap-up report. And lastly, the Private Life of Trees. This is the second novel by the internationally celebrated writer Alejandro Zambra. It's a short and strikingly original novel, says the New Yorker, and it's a book about the stories we spin for ourselves and our loved ones. Veronica is late, and Julian is increasingly convinced that she won't ever come home. To pass the time, he improvises a story about trees to coax his stepdaughter Daniela to sleep. He has made a life as a literature professor, developing a novel about a man tending to bonsai trees on the weekends. He is a narrator, an architect, a chronicler of other people's stories. But at night, as the night stretches on before him and the hours pass with no sign of Veronica, Julian finds himself caught up in the split stream of the story of his life and of their lives together. With a combination of desire and coincidence led them here to this very night. What will the future and all possible and possibly motherless Daniela think of him and his stories? Why tell the stories at all? The Private Lives of Trees overflows with his signature wit and his gift for crafting short novels that manage to contain whole worlds. It's a beautiful book, and we're happy to bring it to you again.
So up next, we have our American Girl audiobooks. We are absolutely thrilled to announce the arrival of Claudie to the American Girl family with a new audiobook written by beloved author Britt Bennett. Meet Claudie marks the #1 New York Times bestselling author's children's debut. Actress Shayna Small, who you can see on the slide as well, who also won acclaim for narrating Britt Bennett's The Vanishing Half, which many of us know and love, narrates the new Claudie audiobook for our American Girl audio collection. Claudia is growing up in the neighborhood of Harlem during the 1920s and is surrounded by writers and poets, painters and sculptors, actors, dancers, singers, and musicians. However, when an eviction notice threatens her family, friends, and the beloved boarding house they all share, Claudia has an idea that might just save the day. But first, she'll have to find the confidence to let her imagination soar. I'm so excited for Claudia. I love the American Girl brand and the books personally. And then we also, on August 30th, we had the two first audiobooks in the Addie series, one of the classic American Girls, go on sale, which are also narrated by Shayna Small. So this is all very exciting. We love American Girl here, and we're so excited to have these in our audio collection.
I know, I think I hang out with my daughter's American Girl dolls more than she does. Who
I
doesn't
remember
love?
being very jealous the year you got the Nintendo set or something for the
Oh, yes, it was the Xbox set,
I
actually.
wanted it.
So funny. She keeps being like, Mom, I'm too old for this now. I'm like, no, you aren't. You're never too old.
No, I
Never.
want my American Girls now. Like, I'll just set them up in my apartment.
So great. Fun. Well, very exciting. Well, thank you all for spending a morning with us. We were on time and quick today. A reminder that we'll send out the wrap up with all of this information so you won't miss anything. And then set your calendars. We'll be back on Thursday, October 6th, for our next morning book buzz. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.